equals the signal. The crystalline spires of the Galactic archives stretched toward the purple skies of Centauri Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Inside the vast complex, Junior Archivist Vera, Tellurian's scales rippled with excitement as she stared at her holoscreen, her 4 eyes widening at the data streaming across it. "This can't be right," she whispered, her tail twitching nervously. The signal pattern she detected while cataloging ancient transmission records matched nothing in the known database. It was old, impossibly old, dating back to the Great Silence, when half the galaxy's communication networks had mysteriously gone dark. Vera glanced around the empty archive hall, her heart racing. She should report this to her supervisors immediately, but something held her back. The signal's signature was unlike anything she'd seen in her 50 years as an archivist, yet it felt hauntingly familiar. With trembling claws, she initiated a deep scan analysis. The computer hummed softly as it processed the complex algorithms. Vera's breath caught in her throat as the results appeared. The signal contained traces of quantum encryption methods that were thought to be merely theoretical. Methods that, according to legend, had only ever been mastered by one species: humans. The word alone sent a shiver down her spine. Every child in the galaxy grew up hearing tales of the humans, the impossible species that had emerged from an unremarkable world to reshape the cosmos. Stories claimed they could survive in environments that would kill most species, adapt to any challenge, and create solutions that defied conventional science. But humans were myths, bogeymen used to frighten younglings and entertain audiences. They had never actually existed, had they? The signal's timestamp made her scales prickle. It had been transmitted exactly 1,000 years ago, long after humans were said to have vanished from the galaxy. If this was genuine, a soft chime interrupted her thoughts. The computer had finished decoding a portion of the signal. Vera leaned forward, her heart's pounding as text appeared on her screen. "To those who find this message, we have not perished. We have not surrendered. We are waiting. When the time comes, look to the dark spaces between the stars. Humanity endures." Vera's claws shook as she saved the data to her secure personal drive. This discovery could rewrite history, or end her career if she was wrong. She needed proof, something more tangible than an ancient signal. The archives held physical artifacts in the deep vaults below. If humans had truly existed, perhaps there was evidence there, gathering dust in some forgotten corner. It would mean breaking protocol to access the restricted sections, but this discovery was too important for rules and regulations. As she made her way to the lower levels, Vera failed to notice the shadow that detached itself from a nearby pillar and followed silently behind her. In the archive's central security hub, a priority alert flashed across a hidden screen. "Hirautoxiol omiga activated. Continuamente required." The hunt for humanity's truth had begun, and Vera Tellurian had just placed herself at the center of a mystery that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. She was about to discover that some myths exist for a reason, and some truths are hidden because they're too dangerous to be known. Deep beneath the surface of a rogue planet drifting in the spaces between spiral arms, ancient machinery hummed to life. Status lights flickered from red to green as dormant systems reactivated. In a vast chamber filled with thousands of stasis pods, a computerized voice spoke into the darkness. Signal intercepted. Awakening protocols initiated. Phase 1 beginning. Inside one of the pods, a human woman's eyes snapped open for the first time in a millennium. Captain Sarah Chen took her first breath of recycled air, her mind already clear and focused. They had prepared for this moment for generations, waiting for the signal that would tell them it was time to return. As more pods began their awakening sequences, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had forgotten them, transformed them into creatures of legend. Soon, they would remember why. Humanity's long night was coming to an end, and a new dawn was about to break across the stars. Back in the archives, Vera descended deeper into the vault levels. unaware that her simple act of curiosity was about to trigger events that would reshape the galaxy forever. Above her, the three suns of Centauri Prime set completely, plunging the crystal spires into darkness. In the shadows between the stars, ancient ships began to power up their engines, ready to emerge from their thousand-year hiding places. The myth of humanity was about to become reality, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Awakening. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the control center of Bunker Delta, watching as hundreds of status displays shifted from dormant red to active green. Around her, more humans emerged from their stasis pods every minute, each one a carefully selected survivor chosen to help rebuild their civilization when the time was right. "Status report," she called out, her voice strong despite a millennium of disuse. The bunker's AI responded immediately, its holographic form materializing beside her. "All systems operating at optimal capacity, Captain. Of the 10,000 stasis pods in Bunker Delta, 99.8% report successful revival sequences. Medical teams are attending to the 0.2% experiencing complications." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with the next steps of their carefully laid plans. "What about the other bunkers? Have they received the signal?" "Affirmative. Bunkers Alpha through Lambda reports similar revival rates. Total awakened population currently stands at 150,000 individuals. Fleet status is green across all hidden installations." A young lieutenant approached, tablet in hand. "Captain, we're receiving reports from our sleeper agents throughout the galaxy. The signal was intercepted by an archivist on Centauri Prime. Just as predicted, she's already begun investigating." "Vera Tillarian," Sarah said, pulling up the alien's profile on a nearby screen. "Our algorithms chose well. Her species values truth above all else. She won't stop until she uncovers everything." The lieutenant shifted uncomfortably. "The archival security forces are already moving to contain her. Should we intervene?" Sarah studied the image of the four-eyed scaled archivist. "No, let events play out as planned. We need the galaxy to witness what happens when the truth is suppressed. It will make our return all the more dramatic." In the depths of the Galactic archives, Vera had no idea she was playing a part in humanity's carefully orchestrated return. She moved through the darkness of the vault level, her scales detecting subtle changes in air pressure and temperature. Something wasn't right. The security systems should have challenged her presence by now. She reached a section of wall that looked no different from any other, but her archival training told her otherwise. Tiny imperfections in the metal, wear patterns in the dust. This was a door designed to be invisible. As she reached for the hidden control panel, a voice spoke from the shadows. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, Junior Archivist Tillarian." Vera spun around to face Chief Administrator Corval, his massive form blocking the corridor. Two security drones hovered beside him, their weapon systems humming softly. "Sir, I can explain," Vera began, but Corval raised a hand to silence her. "You've accessed restricted files, violated security protocols, and worst of all, you've started asking questions about humans." He sighed heavily. "Do you know how many archivists have discovered that signal over the centuries? How many had to be retired to maintain order?" Vera's scales flattened in fear as she realized the implications. The Council knows. They've always known about humans. Why hide the truth? "Because the truth is dangerous," Corval growled. "Humanity wasn't just another species. They were different, unpredictable. Their very existence threatened the stability we've built. The galaxy needs order, not chaos." As Corval spoke, first contact redux. The Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos as the human transmission echoed through its ancient halls. Representatives from 1,000 species shouted over each other, their voices mixing into a cacophony of fear, anger, and disbelief. High Councilor Zixtal, their crystalline form shimmering with stress patterns, raised all four arms for silence. "Order. We must have order," they demanded, their resonant voice cutting through the noise. The situation, while unprecedented, is not beyond our control. A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, showing hundreds of human ships emerging from hidden docks throughout the galaxy. Each vessel bore markings unlike anything in current use, their designs both beautiful and terrifying in their alien elegance. Not beyond our control. The hive speaker of the Vexera buzzed angrily, their antennae twitching. They were here all along, watching, waiting. Everything we know about our history could be a lie. In the corner of the chamber, Vera Telarian stood beside Commander Torres, watching the Council's reaction. The human woman's presence had caused nearly as much stir as the transmission itself, the first publicly acknowledged human in the Council chamber in over 1,000 years. "They're afraid," Vera observed, her scales shifting colors with emotion. "Not just of humans, but of what your return means for their power." Torres nodded grimly. "Fear is understandable. Change always brings fear, but fear can lead to violence, and we didn't hide for a millennium, just to start another war." The chamber's massive doors slid open, admitting a new group of figures. Captain Sarah Chen led a delegation of humans, each wearing the formal dress of their various military and civilian roles. The council members fell silent as the humans approached the central platform. "Honorable Council," Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the hushed chamber. 1,000 years ago, elements within your predecessor council gave our species a choice: disappear or be destroyed. Not just ourselves, but any species that stood with us. We chose to protect the galaxy by removing ourselves from it. She gestured to the hologram, where more human ships continued to appear. We didn't spend our exile in stasis dreaming of revenge. We watched, we learned, and we protected you from threats you never even knew existed. The void plague of the Carina sector, contained by human scientists working in secret. The quantum cascade that nearly destroyed the Orion Arm, stopped by human engineers. The council chamber erupted in murmurs as Sarah continued. "We come now not as conquerors, but as returners, seeking to restore balance to a galaxy that has lived too long with half-truths and hidden powers." From her position near the chamber's edge, Commander Torres noticed movement in the shadows. Her enhanced senses detected the subtle line of energy weapons powering up. "Captain," she sub-vocalized through their secure link, "we have company." Before she could say more, ceiling panels throughout the chamber slid open, revealing dozens of combat drones. Their weapons locked onto the human delegation as a new figure stepped forward, a massive being covered in iridescent scales and cybernetic enhancements. "I am General Vorkath of the Guardian Force," the figure announced, "and by the ancient protocols, I am authorized to execute the Human Containment Directive. Stand down, or this chamber becomes your tomb." Sarah Chen didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled. "General, did you really think we'd come here without a plan?" Throughout the chamber, various council members and their aides suddenly stood straighter, their forms shimmering and changing as human holographic disguises dropped. Dozens of infiltrators had been in place, waiting for this moment. In orbit above the Council world, hidden defense platforms activated, their weapons neutralizing the Guardian Force's fleet before they could react. The combat drones in the chamber sparked and fell, disabled by targeted electromagnetic pulses. "We could have come with weapons raised," Sarah continued, her voice steady. "We could have demanded revenge for our 1,000 years of exile. Instead, we come with open hands and open minds. The galaxy faces threats that neither humans nor the Council can handle alone. The question is, will you continue to cling to the lies of the past, or will you help us build a better future?" The chamber fell silent as her words hung in the air. High Counselor Zixtal stepped forward, their crystalline form now glowing with decision patterns. Perhaps it is time for change. But trust must be earned. Captain Chen, how do you propose we begin?" Sarah gestured to Vera. "Thanks to Junior Archivist Telarian's courage in seeking truth, we already have. The old council maintained power through secrets and fear. Let us build something new on a foundation of truth and cooperation." As negotiations began in earnest, Commander Torres received a priority alert from human forces throughout the galaxy. More Guardian Force elements were mobilizing, and not all Council members would accept human return peacefully. The real challenge was just beginning. The next few days would determine whether humanity's return would usher in a new golden age of cooperation, or if the galaxy would descend into a conflict that would make their previous exile seem like a peaceful dream. The hidden truth. Deep within the secure data vaults of the Guardian Force's hidden base, Vera Tularian's scales rippled with shock as she processed the information scrolling across her screen. Commander Torres stood beside her, face grim as ancient records revealed their secrets. "This goes beyond just forcing humans into exile," Vera whispered. "The Guardian Force. They're not what everyone thinks they are." The classified files told a story that rewrote a millennium of galactic history. The Guardian Force hadn't been created to protect the galaxy. They were the remnants of a long-forgotten species that had dominated space before any current civilizations arose. They had manipulated events from the shadows, using the Council as puppets to maintain their control. "Humanity didn't threaten the Council's stability," Torres said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "We threatened their control. We were advancing too quickly, making discoveries that could have exposed them." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security feeds showed Guardian Force troops converging on their position. The infiltration team's time had run out. "Send it," Torres ordered. "Send everything." Vera's claws flew across the console, transmitting the historical data across every emergency channel in the galaxy. The truth would no longer stay buried. In the Council chamber, now transformed into a crisis command center, Captain Sarah Chen watched as the revelation sparked chaos across civilized space. The Guardian Force's true nature exposed, their carefully maintained facade of legitimacy crumbling. "Multiple Guardian Force fleets are emerging from hyperspace," her tactical officer reported. "They're targeting human positions and allied Council worlds." Sarah's expression hardened. "They're desperate. Deploy the Phoenix Protocol." Throughout the galaxy, hidden human installations activated advanced defense systems that had been waiting centuries for this moment. Quantum shields sprang up around vulnerable planets. Ancient weapons platforms, disguised as debris or asteroids, powered up their systems. But the Guardian Force had not survived millions of years by being unprepared. Their ships possessed technology far beyond anything the galaxy had seen, relics of their species' height of power. "Captain," the tactical officer called out, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They're using weapons we've never seen before." Sarah opened a channel to all human forces. "This is what we prepared for. Remember your training. Remember why we waited so long. Execute Operation Prometheus." Across human ships, crews activated systems that represented the culmination of a millennium of hidden research and development. Humanity hadn't spent their exile merely hiding. They had been studying, learning, and preparing. In orbit around a dozen worlds, the Guardian Force's superior technology met humanity's 1,000 years of innovation. Space itself seemed to warp as experimental human weapons countered the advanced ancient systems. Neither side held a clear advantage. Commander Torres and Vera fought their way through the Guardian Force facility, racing to reach their extraction point. Behind them, more classified files were transmitting to every corner of the galaxy, exposing centuries of manipulation and control. "Why didn't they just destroy humanity?" Vera asked as they took cover from enemy fire. "Why force you into hiding?" "Because they needed us," Torres replied, returning fire with practiced precision. "The files you found. They show the Guardian Force is dying. Their species is at the end of its natural lifespan. They wanted to study us, understand our adaptability, our resilience. They thought they could use those traits to save themselves." A massive explosion rocked the facility. Through the smoke, a team of humans in advanced combat suits burst in, led by a familiar face. "Need a lift?" Sarah Chen asked, her powered armor scorched from battle. As they escaped aboard a stealth shuttle, Vera watched the facility explode behind them, taking with it the last repository of Guardian Force secrets. But the truth was already spreading, impossible to contain. In the council chamber, the remaining representatives of the galaxy's species debated their response. The Guardian Force had protected and guided them for generations, but that protection had come at the cost of their true independence. High Counselor Zixtal's voice cut through the arguments. We face a choice: continue under the Guardian Force's manipulation, or stand with humanity against those who would keep us as pets and pawns. The decision would reshape the galaxy. But for humanity, it was simply the next step in a plan centuries in the making. They had not merely survived their exile. They had used it to prepare for this moment, when the galaxy would need them most. As battles raged across the stars, Sarah Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. 1,000 years ago, they thought they could break us by forcing us into the shadows. Instead, they gave us time to become stronger than they could imagine. The war for the galaxy's future had begun, and humanity was ready to show why they had become the stuff of legends. The new dawn, the battle for the galaxy's heart, turned space itself into a canvas of light and destruction. Guardian Force warships, their ancient technology finally unleashed at full power, clashed with human vessels that represented a millennium of hidden advancement. Between them, the combined fleets of the Council races chose their sides, some standing with their ancient protectors, others embracing the promise of true independence. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, humanity's flagship, watching tactical displays that showed battles raging across 1,000 systems. Status report on Operation Prometheus. Her tactical officer's hands flew across holographic controls. Phase 1 successful. Captain, the Guardian Force's primary command networks have been compromised. Their coordination is failing. This was humanity's true weapon, not just military might, but the ability to understand and adapt their enemy's technology. 1,000 years of studying Guardian Force systems had led to this moment. In the ship's secure command center, Vera Larian worked alongside human scientists, her archival knowledge proving crucial in decoding the enemy's most ancient protocols. Their entire civilization is built on quantum entanglement technology, she explained, scales flickering with excitement. They don't just use it for communication. It's how they'd survived so long as a species. Commander Torres nodded, understanding dawning. That's why they feared us. Human consciousness isn't bound by the same quantum limitations. We can think and adapt in ways they never could. The Phoenix shuddered as enemy fire impacted its shields. On the main bridge, Sarah received a priority alert. Guardian Force Super Dreadnought emerging from hyperspace, energy readings off the scale. The massive vessel that appeared dwarfed everything else in the battlefield. Its surface rippled with patterns of light that hurt the eyes to look at, technology so advanced it seemed like magic. This is Supreme Guardian Sarkath, a voice boomed across all frequencies. For millions of years, we have guided the younger races, protected them from their own chaos. We will not allow our great work to be undone by animals who barely learned to walk among the stars. Sarah opened a channel in response. You didn't guide us. You didn't protect us. You imprisoned us all in a cage of ignorance, feeding us breadcrumbs of technology while hoarding the true wonders of the universe. That ends today. She turned to her crew. Execute Phase 2. Throughout the galaxy, at precisely the same moment, human operators activated devices that had been hidden on thousands of worlds. The quantum field that the Guardian Force depended on fluctuated, then stabilized into a new pattern. On the Super Dreadnought's bridge, Sarkath felt the change immediately. The quantum connection that had sustained their species for millions of years shifted, not broken, but transformed. What have you done? The Supreme Guardian demanded. We've given you a choice, Sarah replied. The same choice you never gave us. Your species doesn't have to die. The quantum field wasn't failing. You were using it wrong. We spent our exile learning how to modify it, how to make it sustainable for all life, not just your own. The fighting slowly ceased as the implications became clear. The Guardian Force's supremacy had been based on their exclusive mastery of quantum technology. Now that mastery was being offered to everyone. In the council chamber, High Counselor Zixtal addressed the assembled representatives of the galaxy. For too long, we have lived in a carefully maintained illusion of progress. Today, we step into true civilization, not as dependents, but as equals. The transition wasn't simple. Some Guardian Force elements refused to accept the new reality, choosing extinction over change. But most saw the wisdom in adaptation, something humans had been trying to teach them all along. Months later, Sarah Chen stood in the newly established Galactic Coalition headquarters, built on the principles of true cooperation and shared advancement. Vera Tolarian, now serving as Chief Archivist of the New Order, worked to integrate the combined knowledge of all species into a single shared database. Was this the plan all along? Vera asked Sarah as they watched ships from 100 worlds moving through the space lanes above. Not to defeat the Guardian Force, but to save them. Sarah smiled. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our ability to see beyond conflict to possibility. We didn't want revenge for our exile. We wanted to build something better. A group of young Guardian Force scholars passed by, on their way to exchange knowledge with human scientists. Their ancient species was changing, learning to exist as equals rather than masters. The quantum field that connected all living things pulsed with new potential, accessible to all who wished to study it. The galaxy needed a myth, Commander Torres said, joining them at the window. A story about beings who could overcome any obstacle, adapt to any challenge, and emerge stronger. We became that myth. But the greatest stories aren't about victory in battle. They're about victory over ourselves. As the three suns of the coalition capital set, casting the sky in brilliant colors, Sarah thought about the long journey that had brought them here. 1,000 years of exile had transformed humanity into something greater than they had been. They had become not just a species, but a bridge between the past and the future, between oppression and freedom, between stagnation and growth. The myth had become reality, and reality had proven greater than any legend. Humanity had returned not to conquer, but to connect. Not to rule, but to raise up. The galaxy would never be the same. It would be better. And that was the greatest victory of all.